What's up, friends? Mike here from the Sports Cubicle and Sports from the Couch live at the radio station today. Wanted to go live right now because we saw that the hire of the new GM of the Chicago Bears was announced, and Ryan Poles. But it looks like we have a new head coach for the Monsters of the Midway. This comes from Adam Schefter's official Twitter account. Former Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus is being hired as the head coach of the Chicago Bears per sources. So it's going to be a busy week here on the Sports Cubicle. We obviously had a wonderful interview with Alexa Knierim and Brandon Frazier, two Olympians representing the United States and us here locally in Illinois, Chicago. But huge news, the Chicago Bears have a new head coach, a defensive coordinator in that. So it's going to be interesting to see what this comes down to. I know it's not the sexiest of names. I know it's not the most exciting of names, especially when you've seen some of the other hires or potential candidates for the job from Brian Flores to Jim Harbaugh, but this seemed to be the way it was going. Interesting they didn't go with Jim Caldwell. I really thought it was going to be Dan Quinn earlier on this morning, but it looks like Matt Eberflus, we're going to have to learn that last name, is your new head coach of the Chicago Bears. Just looking at some reactions as we go through right here. It doesn't seem like people are overly excited or necessarily bummed about it. It's going to be interesting to see the culture that he needs to build, because that's what this team needs. And while the Colts had an interesting defense last year, they did miss the playoffs. I don't know how much of that was just purely on Carson Wentz, how much of that team was carried because of a Jonathan Taylor. But the Bears have a new head coach in Matt Eberflus, so we'll be here throughout the entire weekend on the Sports Cubicle and Sports from the Couch to keep you up to date and what the word is on this new head coach. It's a new era in Chicago. How does this impact Justin Fields? How much did Ryan Poles really have input on this hire? Again, more Bill Polian Colts connection. We haven't seen Bill Polian, though. How much was George McCaskey involved in this hire? It's interesting to see it. I, for one, I'm going to give them the opportunity to prove us right or prove us wrong, whatever the case may be. It's not the exciting pick, but it is a pick. The Bears now have a direction. We'll see how much Ryan Poles, again, had to do with this decision and how much ownership put into it. I, for one thing, if you're going to hire the new head coach or the new general manager, you got to give that GM the chance to hire the head coach, and it has to be his decision. But we'll see. Let us know your thoughts. I'm on Twitter at Mike and Media, Instagram Mike Mercado Media. We're on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV and at Couch Sports Talk. Bears have a new head coach in Matt Eberflus. Be interesting to see. Sean Anderson thought you shouldn't have done any interviews until Poles came in. Bears seem to have tied his hands already, and it's something the Bears do very often. We'll be talking about that on all the podcasts and all the different segments leading into this weekend show. Bears have a new head coach in Matt Eberflus. Ryan Poles making his first decision. Maybe we'll see how much he had input on this as the new GM of your Chicago Bears. Ryan Poles, the new GM. Matt Eberflus, the new head coach.